Well, hello and welcome to this revision video for the historic environment on Hardwick Hall. This is an exam walkthrough and we're going to talk about a consequence type question in this video. So for Hardwick Hall historic environment, these are the main concepts where you could get questions around causation, change continuity, or indeed consequence, which we're going to focus on in this video. So in this video, we're going to look at this consequence question. It's highlighted in yellow that you can see there. And we're going to look at the question. The main consequence of building a stately home in Elizabethan times was the greater comfort and pleasure of the owners. How far does the study of Hardwick Hall support this statement? Okay, so in your answer, you need to make sure you're including relevant knowledge, using that well-selected evidence, key facts, don't just describe. And you need to make sure you're using that knowledge as evidence to back up your points of view. You need to analyse the importance of the factor using phrases like the fact that, this shows that, this meant that, this led to. And then you need to link some of the factors together, particularly in the conclusion, and also within the conclusion, judge which is the most important factor. Now, the question gives you the first agree factor, which is to talk about the greater pleasure and comfort of the owners. So you're going to start off by writing about that. And then in the second paragraph to disagree, you could talk about the new architectural trends as being one of the main consequences, talking about the Renaissance, for example. And then in your third paragraph, you could write about the legacy of Bess of Hardwick and how that's a key consequence. And I think that's a really good one for a consequence because obviously, you know, we still call it Hardwick Hall. We still talk about Bess of Hardwick. She's one of the reasons why she's so well remembered today is because of how she built the house. And then your fourth paragraph is going to be the conclusion. Okay, so let's have a look at a plan for this answer. So it's a good idea actually to do a plan. So if you're going to write about pleasure and comfort, you might talk about features to promote comfort like the large windows, the bay windows, the private chapel, the use of the blue room, for example, the second floor private family rooms, for example, would be good ones to talk about. The new architectural trends in terms of Robert Smithson, the symmetry, the gardens, the loggia, for example, and then the legacy, you know, the ES engravings. There was a great bit of knowledge that can do quite a lot with that information. And then, you know, the fact that she used materials from her own businesses like the glassworks, the ironworks, for example. Okay, so let's have a look at an agree paragraph. So in terms of writing about pleasure and comfort, we could write about this. So I would agree that one of the main consequences of building a stately home was to provide greater pleasure and comfort for the owners. For example, at Hardwick Hall, Bess of Hardwick built the house for her own pleasure and comfort. In the 60s, when the building began, Bess's fourth husband, George Talbot, had died. This marriage had not been particularly happy due to tensions over Mary Queen of Scots' imprisonment. And the building of Hardwick Hall would enable her to see out her days in great comfort. For example, the second floor were the private family rooms, and Bess had her own gallery in a private chapel where she could worship privately, separately from her servants. On the top floor, the room now known as the Blue Room was used for playing cards, reading, or relaxing by Bess, showing that a key impact of Hardwick Hall was greater pleasure and comfort. In addition, the extensive use of glass at Hardwick Hall, more glass than wall, meant that Bess could enjoy light and spacious spaces, and the bay windows put in by architect Robert Smithson would have afforded fine views of the gardens and the Derbyshire countryside beyond. In addition, the fact that she had 30 servants to wait on her shows there was great pleasure and comfort living at Hardwick Hall. Therefore, it's evident the design of the house allowed for lots of pleasure and comfort and was a key consequence of the building of Hardwick Hall. Okay, then we need to disagree. So, you could talk about new architectural trends. However, in some ways, I would disagree. Another key consequence was new architectural trends. Stately homes like Hardwick Hall were instrumental in bringing in new ideas. Hardwick Hall included new Renaissance ideas from Europe, such as symmetry and classical motifs, which marked a shift from medieval styles. Hardwick Hall used all the latest new ideas and technology, such as extensive glazing, which shows how such a home was at the forefront of innovation. Bess used a famous Elizabethan architect called Robert Smithson who could develop these architectural trends. Also, Bess's use of tapestries such as the famous Gideon tapestries, bought from the estate of Christopher Hatton, was quite different from wood panelling which features on other Elizabethan houses. This created a trend for new ideas in house building. Bess also had fashionable furnishing such as a set of 6 French stools, elaborate Turkish carpets, and had a French decorator called John Balakhaus to decorate the house. She even had a set of tapestries called the Brussels tapestries which told the story of Tobias and the angel, showing off Bess's knowledge of culture. The fact that Hardwick Hall represents a key example of Renaissance Elizabeth home shows that this was a key consequence of the building of Hardwick Hall. Okay, so let's have a look at a third paragraph now and a second disagree paragraph. So I think this is a really powerful argument actually, the legacy of Bess of Hardwick. In addition, another key consequence of the building of Hardwick Hall was to create a legacy for Bess of Hardwick. By building Hardwick Hall, Bess was able to elevate how important she was and also her connections to Queen Elizabeth I. In fact, Elizabeth I once said about Bess that there is no lady in this land that I better love and like. The house also served as a statement of loyalty to the Queen, with the Queen's coat of arms above the fireplace in the high great chamber. The grandeur of the home may have been linked to Arbella Stuart, Bess's granddaughter, who in 1597 still had a realistic claim to the throne behind King James VI of Scotland. This shows a main consequence was elevating the status of Bess of Hardwick. Bess also wanted a consequence of Hardwick Hall to underline her success and importance. The fact that she put her own name on the building 6 times, ES, is strong evidence that the main consequence was preserving her legacy. In addition, the fact that it's still there today and has made Bess a well-known and significant person from Elizabethan times even today shows that it was preserving a legacy, and this was a very long-lasting consequence of the building of Hardwick Hall. Okay, so we've seen lots of arguments and ideas in order to both agree and disagree with that interpretation, and then you need to round your essay off with a really well thought out conclusion. Now, in terms of writing a really good conclusion, you want to start off and make it really, really clear. Start off with a phrase like "in the final analysis" or "in conclusion" or "overall I would strongly agree, disagree." Embrace the complexity of the question. So you might say something like "despite the fact that," or "admittedly," although some historians may argue that. And then explain your final opinion. So make your final opinion really, really clear. It's really, really important in the conclusion. And this is where you're going to really get up to the highest marks. It's really important in the conclusion that you don't sit on the fence and that you give a really, really clear and well argued overall opinion. Either are you going to agree or are you going to disagree? And if you do disagree, then, what is your alternative opinion? So let's just have a look at this example conclusion. In the final analysis, it is apparent that the main consequence of Hardwick Hall being built was preserving Bess's legacy. Admittedly, Bess may have built Hardwick Hall for comfort and pleasure, but she was already living in comfortable surroundings in her life at Chatsworth and then at Hardwick Hall. Therefore, the fact that Hardwick Hall is such a visual representation of Bess's success, from using materials such as glass from her own glassworks at Wingfield to the unmistaken 6 huge and ornate ES to represent her name, proves this. It is clear that this house's main consequence was all about showing her successful career and proving her legacy, and so I would strongly agree with this view. So it's a really good conclusion because it really takes those key facts. It really talks about how, look, Bess is really showing off her legacy here and showing off her kind of power and, using that really lovely historic environment evidence of the ornate ESs on top of the roof is really, really strong evidence. So that's a really great conclusion. So we just really articulated there what makes a really good conclusion. Okay, so thank you very much for listening to that video. That was an exam walkthrough for the historic environment on Hardwick Hall. Thanks very much and good luck with the exams.